They laughed first. Not because he tried, but because he dared to exist at all. For 7 years, the dust was his kingdom. While other children chased the wind, he dragged himself through the red earth of Mali, a prince who crawled like a beast. They called it a curse. They called it the wrath of spirits offended by his mother's face. In the courtyard of kings, where only the strong were meant to stand, he was the stain on the tapestry. Small, trembling, broken by birth. The palace walls have ears, they say, but they also have teeth, and the sharpest teeth belonged to the whispers. Look at him, the nobles would murmur behind their fans of woven grass. The son of the lion, a cripple. He will never arise, the warriors said, leaning on spears that this boy could not even lift. Fate has already spoken. The prophecy was a lie told to a desperate king. But fate is not a straight line. It is a storm, and storms do not ask for permission before they break. Consider the mother. To understand the son, you must understand the tears that watered the soil beneath him. Sogolon, the buffalo woman. She had borne the insult of the other wives for so long that her heart had turned into a fortress. She carried her shame like a heavy stone day after day, watching her son drag his belly through the dirt while the other princes practiced with bows and wooden swords. She loved him, but on this day, love was not enough. On this day, the humiliation was a blade that finally cut too deep. It began with something small, a request for a condiment, a leaf. A simple leaf for a stew. And the answer she received from the Queen Mother was not charity, but poison. Ask your son to fetch it for you, the Queen had laughed, throwing the scrap of food into the dirt. If he is a man, let him provide. The laughter that followed wasn't just noise, it was a verdict. It echoed off the mud walls, bouncing around the compound, chasing Sogolon back to her hut, where she finally collapsed. She did not weep softly. She wailed. She looked at her son, this boy, her heart, and for the first time, she looked at him with despair. "Why?" she cried. "Why do you punish me by living like this?" And the boy sat there. He sat in the shadows, listening to his mother's spirit break. He heard the mockery outside. He felt the heat of the midday sun baking the earth that held him prisoner. Something shifted. It wasn't a thought. It was a geological event inside his soul. The shame did not crush him this time. It ignited him. He looked at his mother. His eyes, usually cast down, burned with a terrifying calm. "Mother," he said, and his voice was deeper than a child should be. "Do you want just a leaf, or do you want the whole tree?" He did not wait for an answer. "Call the smiths," he commanded. "Tell them to bring me the iron rod, the heavy one." The command rippled through the compound. Servants ran, not out of obedience, but out of curiosity. The cripple was speaking. The broken thing was making demands. When the blacksmith arrived, he carried the iron staff, a massive bar of metal forged for the strongest warriors to test their might. It was cold, ugly, unyielding. He dropped it in the dust before the boy, and the heavy thud silenced the immediate chatter. The sun hid behind clouds that day, as if the sky itself did not want to witness the tragedy of a boy trying to fight gravity. Warriors leaned closer, amused. Elders shook their heads, preparing their speeches about the acceptance of one's lot in life. Mothers turned their faces away, unable to watch the inevitable failure. And still, the boy reached forward. His hand was small against the dark metal. His fingers closed around cold iron, an iron staff driven into the earth by men twice his size. It was cold, ugly, unyielding. It was meant to steady him, nothing more, a crutch for a cripple to perhaps pull himself to his knees. But when he gripped it, something ancient stirred. The air grew heavy, not of humidity, but of presence. The griots say the spirits of the ancestors gathered in the rafters that day, silent witnesses to the impossible. He pulled. His arms shook, a violent tremor that started in his fingertips and rattled his teeth. His breath broke into jagged gasps. Sweat poured down his face, mixing with tears he refused to let fall. Every muscle screamed, every tendon in his wasted legs fired with sudden agonizing electricity. The pain was absolute. It was a white-hot, blinding light behind his eyes. It was the pain of dead nerves waking up, the pain of bones remembering what they were designed to do. The laughter grew louder. "Give up!" someone shouted. "You are breaking yourself." Then, the iron groaned. At first, no one noticed. A subtle sound, a low-frequency vibration that hummed in the chest, a cry too deep to belong to flesh. He pulled again, teeth clenched so hard he thought they would shatter, jaw burning, heart pounding like war drums in his ears. He was not just lifting a body, he was lifting a legacy. He was lifting the insults, the spitting, the pity, the cold night, the hunger, the shame. He was lifting it all. The iron bent. It curved, a thick bow of solid iron, yielding to a will that was harder than steel. Laughter died in throats. It didn't taper off, it was severed. Dust lifted from the ground as if the earth itself inhaled. Warriors straightened, their hands drifting unconsciously to their sword hilts. Elders leaned forward, their old eyes widening, trying to comprehend the physics of what they were seeing. A silence spread, thick, fearful, alive. The boy's knee trembled, and then, against all the laws of his life, it pressed upward. He was rising, slowly, agonizingly, like a mountain rising from the sea. Pain exploded through his body, not the pain of weakness, but the pain of becoming, the pain of destiny forcing itself into the world. He dragged his paralyzed legs under him, and the muscles, dormant for 7 years, flooded with blood. They swelled, they knotted, they obeyed. He rose, inch by inch, dragging the impossible with him. The iron twisted in his hands, warping into the shape of a bow. The ground beneath the staff cracked, spider webs of fissures spreading out from the pressure. And the sky broke open. It wasn't just the clouds parting, it was a tearing of the veil. Golden light poured through, violent and sudden, falling on the boy alone, as if the sun had chosen him, as if the heavens were pointing a finger and saying, "Him. Look at him." Some stepped back, terrified. Others dropped their weapons. They clattered loud in the sudden quiet. A few whispered prayers they had not spoken in years, terrified that they were in the presence of a sorcerer. Because in that moment, they understood. This was not strength borrowed from muscle. This was not the strength of food or training. This was the strength of the baobab root, hidden deep in the dark, waiting for the rain. The boy stood. He released the breath he had been holding for 7 years. He was not tall yet. He was not steady. He swayed like a sapling in a gale. But he was standing. His feet were flat on the earth. His spine was straight. His head was high. And that was enough to shatter a kingdom's certainty. The iron lay bent in his hands, proof that the world had been wrong, proof that prophecy does not arrive gently on the wings of a dove. It arrives wrapped in pain. It arrives with the sound of breaking bones and bending steel. No one laughed now. The Queen Mother, who had thrown the leaf, stood frozen. In his eyes, she saw her own end. She saw the fires of war and the rebuilding of empires. She saw the lion. He took a step. It was clumsy, it was heavy, but it was a step. He took another. He walked towards the great baobab tree in the center of the courtyard. The crowd parted like water. They did not touch him. They could not. He was radiating a heat that pushed them back. He reached the tree they said he could never climb, the tree that belonged to the strong. With one hand, he grabbed the trunk. With a heave that summoned the last of his reserves, he didn't just climb it, he shook it. He shook the ancient tree until its roots groaned and its leaves rained down like green tears. He turned back to his mother. He did not smile. This was not a moment for joy, it was a moment for reckoning. Here,